First, we really appreciate everybody taking the time to come out tonight. My name is Zach McHugh. I'm the Chief of Government and Community Affairs for the Port Authority. Just first, want to be sure if you're here, if you could please sign in if you haven't. We'll run through a quick presentation from PATH and Port Authority staff, and then we want to reserve a lot of time for questions. We have pre-submitted questions that many folks have submitted online, and then we'll also have a way for the members in the audience to submit questions to our PATH staff. But before we get into that, I just want to introduce our Chief Operating Officer, Jim Heitman, and our Director of PATH, Clarelle DeGraff. They're here because it's incredibly important for them, as well as for the agency, to engage with the public, to hear your thoughts, to get your feedback on the system that we provide for all of you. We've obviously announced some pretty significant changes to the system last week with the introduction of our capital plan. And so we're going to walk through that with you, but also, again, get your feedback, what's working, what we can work on, and really just engage in a dialogue. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim and Clarelle, who are going to be going through a brief presentation for all of you. And again, thank you for being here.
So I want to thank HCCS for helping us pull this together and providing this opportunity to engage with you guys. Really appreciate you taking your time out of your evening to come and engage. We've gotten so much great feedback from the focus group, from your comments at our board meetings. We've been kind of working a lot of these issues in the background, you know, as we develop the capital plan, waiting for Path Forward to get done so we could, you know, push back the service that we had before. And we're really happy, I'm really happy with the work that Clarelle and her team did to, really the whole agency, to get together and try to find the money to do the service level improvements, continue on our quest to really get reliability back up. So again, just thank you for coming out, and I'm going to turn it over to Clarelle, and we have a quick presentation.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Had a quick opportunity to talk to some of you. I like to use my hands, and this makes it a little bit easier for me. So we can just keep going. So also, like, if everybody from PATH could just, and Port Authority could just raise their hands. Thank you. Because that way you know who to, they're here on their own time. They're not getting overtime. Just really to be a resource, you know, so if you see anybody with a badge, please feel free to ask questions. Okay, so basically PATH 101. PATH is a 117-year-old system, as many of you know. Some of you know better than me. We started in 1908, became a subsidiary of the Port Authority in 1962. We are a two-track system with overlapping routes. We connect at 13 stations between New York and New Jersey, where we have multiple service lines that cover basically the under tunnel area, and also between Journal Square and Newark is all outdoors. So we call that out west. We are only one of 4 rapid transit systems in the world that runs 24/7. It's a 24/7 operation. New York City subway, Copenhagen, Metro, PATH, which is ourselves, in Chicago, only the red and blue lines. Only 4 within 3 in the United States, and the other one in Copenhagen that runs 24 hours. Surprising, right? You know, in terms of costs, the fares that are paid to PATH only cover 25% of what it costs to run PATH. So, and it costs about $11 per ride if you were really to pay. The full fare would be about $11. So today, the cost is $3 to run. And of course, we run at a deficit, but there is no commuter railroad in the world that does not run at a deficit. I found only 2, and that's because they have real estate. So very, very interesting fact. It costs a lot of money to run a railroad. It's an act of love, I want to say. It's a lot of grunt work. It's not sexy like the airports, but it's so essential and so needed for people in the cities to get to connect them, right, to their places of employment, to their loved ones. And it's so essential, so important. You know, I have pictures in my head during COVID of essential workers. You know, this was really like the only means for them to get to their place of work in order to take care of people that were sick. So very, very important. Okay, a little bit about our ridership. What does our ridership look like? Okay, this is what our rider. Okay, a little bit of a challenge. Maybe I'm just too impatient. Okay. So a little bit about our ridership. What does PATH look like? So of course, many of you that ride in the mornings or in the evenings, you know it's like crush loading, right? On PATH, we have 4 lines. Newark to World Trade, Hoboken to 33rd, Journal Square to 33rd, Hoboken to World Trade Center. And basically in the mornings, I would say between 6 and 9 a.m., it's like peak loading. Same thing in the evenings between about 4 and 6 p.m., peak loading on people on return. And in the middle, you see how the ridership goes down significantly. So when we take a look at how we plan service, we have to take a look at, you know, actually when are we running the most trains? We've got to be able to accommodate the crowds. We've got to be able to accommodate the ridership, because that's really our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to get you to your destination. It's not about running trains. We love the trains, but it's about you. It's about you, the customer, and getting you to where you need to be in a safe manner. Saturdays and Sundays, right now we're probably at about, I want to say about 75% of numbers of where we were during COVID. Our weekends have exceeded COVID. Our weekends have exceeded the numbers from COVID, and that's the numbers that you see in the box. Our Saturdays were about 104,000. Sundays, average Sunday is close to about 80,000 customers, you know, on a given Sunday. Okay, so as we plan, and this is context for you, so you know why we plan the way we do, why we run more trains in the morning, in the evening, and also certain hours on weekends. Okay, I was patient. So the largest challenge, of course, is adding service because of track access. We, like I said before, we're basically a 2-track system that, you know, runs from Newark to World Trade, also from the Hoboken area into downtown Manhattan under river tunnels. Like I said, most rail systems close overnight in order to perform maintenance. We don't. We run 24 hours and we're confined to 2 tracks. And the reason we have to do not just maintenance, but also FRA mandated inspections, very important to make sure the system is running safely, not just running, but running safely. So that's very necessary. The long headways on the overnights allow us to go in between when the trains are running and do the necessary either maintenance or inspections as per the FRA mandates. And the system, of course, it continues to age. Regulatory requirements increase, and staff needs even more time a lot of times in order to, you know, make repairs. The demand grows during times traditionally. As demand is growing, it's eating into the times that we need, you know, for that, for those maintenance periods. So we had a customer focus group. So, you know, again, listening to you, what have you said to us? What have our customers said to us? So we really took a 2-prong approach. We did a focus group a couple of months ago, and basically, what did we find out from the focus groups? Focus groups said we want weekend and weekday midday improvements. We're like, okay, we'll take that in. They wanted closures over long-term service reductions to accommodate work. 52% wanted to accommodate maintenance through scheduled weekend closures. So that was from the focus group. And the majority of those people were really from Jersey City. So we also sent out customer surveys. 72% of the people that responded to the surveys, which was over 1,000 people, 72% are those that commute to work. Those are the people in the peaks. Those are the people in the large peaks. They want weekday rush hour service improvements, weekday rush hour and weekend improvements. That was their focus. They favored long-term service reductions over closures to accommodate work. So they said, do it in small increments, over a long period of time, because I want to get to work. Don't interrupt, don't disrupt my normal pattern of getting to work, because remember, 72% of them are commuters. 28% of them prefer reducing service midday. They're like, we're okay, reduce the service midday, reduce it on the overnights and weekends in order to accommodate maintenance. Do not touch the rush hours. 24% of them, they favored closing on the overnight. They're like, okay, it's fine. I'm okay. Close overnight. We're good. We're good. So again, those are the people in the peaks. And so we can't please everyone. So we needed to look at the large majority and how we did that. So we went back to the drawing board, and again, the staff is here that did this. They really, had to look hard and really had to think outside the box. Because how many of us know when you're doing something the same way over years, you just kind of fall into a pattern. But, we really, Jim Heitman, he challenged us. He said, you can have anything you want. If you had all the time in the world, I want you to think outside the box and find a way to make this happen. So our team, that I give all the credit to, they said, okay, they got in a room and they said, okay, we can provide more frequent rush hour service. We just can't do it all at the same time. Let's look at a phased approach. We can also provide more frequent late night weekend service. Okay, let's see what we can do there. But here's the kicker. This blew me away, right? Direct weekend service on those 3 lines, in addition to Newark World Trade Center. That is amazing. That means no more around the world service. All right? How many people are happy about that one? I thought you'd be happy. I thought you'd be happy about that one.
So, Clarell,
yes.
Raisha?
Yes.
Raisha is the one who got her
Raise your
people
hand,
in the
Raisha.
room and figured that out.
That's right. That's the young lady. Yep. Pulled a rabbit out of a hat. So, but in addition, in order to make that happen, okay, we got to have some give and take in order to make that happen. Currently, around the world, on weeknights, right, around the world service starts at 11:30 p.m. until 5 a.m. So in order to make this happen up here, they said, listen, I still need to maintain the system. I still need to run it safely. So they said, okay, give me an additional hour and a half on the weeknights. So from Sunday to Thursday night, okay, and we're going to start maintenance at 10. So around the world service is going to start at 10 p.m. instead of 11:30 p.m. and it's going to end at 5 a.m. So from Sunday to Thursday night. We left Friday and Saturday because we know I like to hang out on Friday and Saturday nights, right? So around the world doesn't start until about 2 a.m. On Friday and Saturday nights, okay? Then also, in order to support this, we're also got to fund it, right? We're looking at a 25 cents increase in the spring of 2026, with an additional 25 increase each January between 2027 and 2029, which kind of brings you to about $3.70 for $4. Is it $3.70 for $4 at the end by the time you get to 2029? So it's an additional $1 by the time you get to 2029 in order to be able to support this service. So let's look at it another way also. Okay, what does that really look like? So for the first time in 25 years, all 4 lines will operate 7 days a week. In 25 years, we haven't had that. You're going to have significant increase in weekend service to 33rd Street starting in 2026, with additional increases in 2027. We're going to be providing direct service on weekends, Journal Square to 33rd, Hoboken to World Trade, by mid-2026. Okay, so what we need to do, and the reason I want to talk time frame, right? Because you're going to want, when is this going to happen? Don't go out this weekend looking for direct service, because remember, we're still in Path Forward. Path Forward is going to continue until early 2026. I'd say probably first quarter, early spring of 2026. So at the end of Path Forward, then we go into a 3-phase approach to really try and ramp up the service. So we're gonna also, like I said, even though we're starting around the world service at 10 p.m. from Sunday to Thursday, what we offered on Saturday into Sunday was a late night service that had around the world service starting at 2 a.m. We're gonna include Friday night into that as well. Okay, so Friday and Saturday nights will around the world service won't start until 2 a.m. So that gives you an opportunity to hang out and still be able to come and have direct service. And then on the Newark World Trade Center line, we're going to be increasing the headways from 5 minutes to 4 minutes in early 2027. In 2026, early 2026, the Hoboken World Trade Center line is also going to be, we're also going to be increasing the headway on that. So we've been able to look at some of our busiest lines on weekday rush hour periods to increase that service, as well as the weekend service, providing direct service on the weekends. So what does that look like? Okay, a little bit at a time. So this is what you're going to see. In March of 2026, currently, Hoboken to World Trade runs on 8-minute headways. So after Path Forward in March of 2026, you're going to see it go from 8 minutes to 6 minutes. That will handle any crowding that's experienced at Exchange Place. Right, so you know you've got a large I think, who was I talking to? Okay, right, we're talking about HBLR, right? They bring a load and it gets really crowded at Exchange Place. So we're looking to handle that with increased headways of the Hoboken to World Trade Center from 8 minutes to 6 minutes, starting in March of 2026. Next, around the world is going to be around a little while. So just in March of 2026, at least phase 1, what we're looking to do is to go from 20 minutes to 10-minute headways. Right? So no more 20 minutes. You're going to go from 20 minutes to 10-minute headways by March of 2026. So that's the first improvement that you're going to see. Okay. And that's going to be between the hours of 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. Again, remember that curve that you saw. That's when you see the greatest number of people riding it on the weekends. We're addressing peak service, peak ridership. Okay. Next. Friday late night service, again, by May of 2026, Friday late night service is also going to start at all Friday late night service will operate every 20 minutes between 11:30, and Friday and Saturday it will start at 2 a.m. Right? We talked about that. I hope I didn't confuse you there. So Friday, the around the world service will have the same schedule as it does Saturday into Sunday. It will start at 2 a.m. I think that's. So here's the good one. So by May of 2026, between 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., you will have direct service 10-minute headways on your 3 lines. Journal Square to 33rd, Hoboken to 33rd, Hoboken to World Trade will be at 20 minutes, and Newark to World Trade will be at 20-minute headways. Every line, every day. That was Ben Feldman. And then by second quarter of 2027, you'll be able to have direct service Hoboken to World Trade Center. It'll be at 10-minute headways, and then Newark to World Trade will be 15. It will improve by 5 minutes. And again, between 10 and 9 a.m. Okay. We listened. Okay, so also in second quarter of 2027 is the Newark to World Trade Center. We're going to go from 5-minute headways to 4-minute headways on the Newark World Trade Center line. And that's in those peak periods between 7:30 and 9:30 a.m. and between 4:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. There was one that's missing, the Hoboken to World Trade. So, but we talked about it a little bit. And then in addition to that, also what you also see in our capital plan are new fare gates. We know that, I've gotten emails, from some of you, some of our riders. They really feel like this is my path system, right? And they feel offended when you see somebody, beat the fare and just not pay, especially when we're talking about only having a 25%, fare box recovery. So we again, we're hearing you, we're watching, we get offended too. So this is also part of the capital plan to be able to install new fare gates, which will look similar to what New York City Transit is putting in with the 2 leaves that will open up. So that is in the works. So we are in the planning stages for that. So that's going to be a couple of years down the line. But we wanted to let you know that it is there and that is also part of our capital plan. So again, that is our war on fare evasion. Other things in the capital plan, we've got technology investments such as the new fare gates. We've got the uptown tunnels that we are in the planning stages. We don't know what it's going to look like. We just know that work needs to be done. We've also got Journal Square track improvements for $117 million. Rail cars continuously, it's cyclical for them to be upgraded, for them to be overhauled. Harrison Yard, that's our maintenance shop, and one of our yards improvements at that shop. We've got substations. We're going to be upgrading our substations. We're going to be making some mechanical improvements at our facility, our office tower here, Journal Square, and other miscellaneous things, reimbursements to our peer agency. As we know, Amtrak does work on the corridor, Conrail, New Jersey Transit. So again, we have a partnership with them where they reimburse us for the services that we provide, such as flagmen and support for when they are doing work close to our tracks. And then, of course, completing projects that are in this current plan here. Okay. And Jim, I don't know if you wanted to do this, the public comment period. Did you want to talk that
Sure. I
through?
mean, I won't
Okay.
read these off,
don't
but
know.
we set up 6 different public events on both the capital plan and our operating budget to hear broader comments. So if your friends missed tonight, these are other opportunities. You'll see that we have some in New Jersey, we have some in New York. We have virtual options. So, if you forget something tonight, you want to come out and give us feedback, we will be at those 6 locations, and we're looking forward to any and all comments. Again, this is a proposed capital plan. Look for feedback, give that feedback to the board, and then they'll approve, hopefully, everything that we recommended. That's for the whole Port Authority, correct. The whole Port Authority capital plan, it was announced $45 billion proposal. We also published our operating budget, which we usually put out for public comment period, and the different fare and fee increases that are out there. But really, any feedback anybody wanted to give us, we take that into consideration.
Great. Well, thank you both very much. Before we, yeah, sure. Well, you're not off the hook yet. Before we go into the Q&A, I just want to, acknowledge there's a partnership that we've sort of developed. The organization Hudson County Complete Streets, which many of you are familiar with, have advocated and engaged with us a lot on ways to improve the pass system. We've put this event together in coordination with them, and they've helped us spread the word. But, in addition to engaging riders and engaging elected officials, many of whom, we heard from in our board process and heard from some questions for tonight, we also have a representative from Congressman Menendez's office who's here with us this evening. So, in working with Hudson County Complete Streets to put this event on, we allowed for pre-submitted questions, which we'll be going through. But before we do, I want to introduce a representative from the organization and a partner in putting this event together, Jack McKee.
Oh, there's more people than when I sat down. Good evening. My name is Jack McKee. I'm with Hudson County Complete Streets and one of the co-leads of A Better Path. We want to start by thanking you for being here, thanking the Port Authority for working with us on this, Jim, Clarell, Jason, Zach, Morgan, Kristen, and a whole bunch of other people. Port Authority has been a great partner and has been, and just framing what tonight is about. I mean, tonight is about continuing a dialogue. We have Hudson County Complete Streets and the Port Authority, the Path Department, but also Jim as the COO. We have started a dialogue, and we did this because the PATH train is incredibly important for Hudson County. But we want to bring that dialogue to the community and get the community involved because, well, you should know, and I feel that we should all want to know what the future of PATH looks like. The service improvement is a big step forward, but the campaign is not over, and we're going to continue working together to get productive additions and improvements to PATH. And so tonight, we'll hope for a productive, respectful conversation, give each other room to speak. And I think, as we say, it's going to be Zach and I going through the questions one by one. Oh yeah, and also, if you want to ask a question, there are pens and there are note cards over here, so anything that comes to mind, you can head up there, write it down, and try to get it in. Oh, even better, they'll be passed around. And I think that's all from me. Thanks for, oh, I see.
So again, if you have questions, there's note cards coming around and pens, and we'll get them to Jason. Jason, just raise your hand, and he'll filter them up to Jack and I. We do have a number of pre-submitted questions, so we're just going to kick right off. This question is from Saul R. And, we ask people to give them their names just so in case anybody's watching at home, we're sort of using your question. Mark, Eric, Tim, Christina, Allison, Corey all asked this same question. And the question is, will PATH ever get extended to Newark Airport? So again, something we've heard from the advocates. And Jim, I'll kick that question to you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So as we mentioned, it's a 117-year-old system, expanding ridership. You know the issues that we have with the current system. So what we've been focused on and will continue to focus on is that reinvestment, stabilization to create the kind of reliability that enabled us to put the service enhancements in. So that was a tough decision that we made when we had that in the old capital plan. I think $1.7 billion. There was $1 billion from Port Authority capital, and there was a hope to get the extra $700 million in a grant that didn't come to be, and most likely, having worked on the air train at Newark, it would have been much more expensive. So when we looked at where do you spend the limited capital that the Port Authority has, the decision was made to do the kind of investments that you've seen get done on Path Forward and other projects. You see what we're looking to go forward with. One of the things that made that just a little bit easier to, the deferral to, become palatable for us and some of the more local community members was that when we built the original air train, it went to the tracks to get onto New Jersey Transit or Amtrak, but it literally, you could see the train station, but as a local neighborhood resident, you couldn't get on it. So we worked with the FAA, who was very helpful in figuring out how to allow that. There's a lot of restrictions that come around with airport operators and how that access is provided. And we're able to put in the NEC Access Station project, which now allows the Newark and Elizabeth community to get to the airport, but also to be able to get access to New Jersey Transit and Amtrak to get into the city. So we would love to get that 3-seat ride down to a 2-seat ride, still on our agenda, but like everything else, we have to prioritize and put those best value propositions forward. But this is something we're always looking and studying going forward. So it's one of these things. I will tell you, I came out of the airport redevelopment area. That is probably my guess, pure guess, they'll hate this, probably a $3 billion program. So when you do that for a 3-mile effort, you just have to look at the bang for the buck and where I could see personally, after working with Clarell and the team, there's a lot more fruitful things that we could do with that $3 billion ahead of that. But we're going to look at it. We're going to study it. We'll always look for grants, funds, and if we can afford it, we will do it. In fact, when we designed that NEC station that I talked about, we kept enough space for the right-of-way for the PATH train to eventually come through and be integrated into that station.
On fares, Patrick O. asks, Path's proposal to increase the base fare by $4 to $4 by January 2028 represents a substantial increase. Why is Path seeking approval for fare increases more than 3 years from now, instead of seeing how ridership and revenue responds from the improved service?
Okay, I'll take that. So we're proposing just a phased approach to get to that $4 with a 25 cents increase at each interval. And, Path, as I said, it's a unique operation in that, unlike other commuter rail properties, Path receives no subsidies from outside entities. So everything is within the Port Authority. And it costs about $11 per person, for every ride. But we're only receiving about 25% of that today. So again, it's predictable. The fare increase that we are talking about right now is predictable. We believe it's affordable over time. And, we're just going to, take your comments and be open to that.
And that 75% subsidy equates to $400 million a year. So this is an important service. We found the money, we find the money, we support it, but it is a very tough annual amount to be subsidizing. So we tried to strike the balance, right? Money in because we don't get those outsources equals what we can invest in either capital investments or the service improvements. So it was about trying to really stretch to do what we could within our own control, to control expenses, and we thought that this was a good balance given what we have to do for the long term.
On a service question, this is from Danielle D. Thank you for the outlining the upcoming improvements, can you explain why weekday service after 11 p.m. is not receiving the same attention? What data or operational constraints are preventing PATH from increasing weekday late night frequency? And when can riders expect meaningful upgrades in that timeframe?
The graph that Clarell had up, part of the question is, the data, is it data-driven? And that graph that Clarell showed, and we have much more detailed graphs to go through that, really dictates when, first is maintenance, right? We need to perform the maintenance, which I know a lot of people in this group are very familiar with. So we have to open up those maintenance windows, and the overnight is the time that we can do that. But then looking at the numbers, and we asked to kind of help articulate this point. After 11 p.m., it gets down to as low as 300 passengers per hour. The system capacity at the 300 passengers per hour. During that same time, we're running trains for over 1,700 to 2,600 an hour. And that kind of wear and tear on the equipment, the tracks, there is a practical limit beyond the maintenance on decisions about running service during off-peak air times. So what we are trying to focus on is making that time very reliable so that you can plan around it. So we're doing a lot of effort to say, well, look, if we're going to do it every 40 minutes, then we better make sure that it hits every 40 minutes. So that's what the reliability investments in the tracks, in the cars, it cuts down service outages that are in our control. Again, some of you know that over half or about half of our service delays are people related. Someone left a suspicious bag, someone vomited, someone caused a disruption that causes us to cancel or delay trains. So we're going to work with you to try to, everybody can do their part to, encourage good behavior. And we're going to continue to improve the reliability to make that a really reliable when we can't provide the, frequent service.
Couple questions about bikes. First from Victoria C. Can PATH make the last car of the trains to bikes only? And Gary T. On bike policy, every morning and evening rush hour, I encounter multiple food delivery people with enormous e-bikes with milk crates on the back, taking up space on the already overcrowded trains. Any comment on bike policy?
Yep. So folded bikes are permitted on PATH at all times. Non-folding bikes are allowed at all times also, except on weekdays during the peak periods between 6:30 and 9:30 a.m. and also between 3:30 and 6:30 p.m. Also, no more than 2 bicycles are permitted on a PATH car in order to reduce passenger and bike conflict. Additionally, bikes are not permitted in the first car of the train. And we partner with our Port Authority Police Department to enforce this policy. But as you know, we don't have a police officer on every platform or in every car. Secure bike parking is available. We do have Unipods at Journal Square and also at Harrison Station. Are 2 stations where our property extends outside of the footprint of the station. And we are excited to see that Jersey City and Harrison have partnered with Uni to be able to provide that. So it's a challenging situation, especially in this day of micro transit, where people do want to, ride their bicycles to, let's say, to PATH and then get on the subway. We do have that provision, the ability for them to park their bicycles at those locations. But we also know that it's also challenging when you have delivery services that utilize PATH, that bring their bikes on PATH. That's the hard part. And our police department are fiercely watching and trying to issue summonses. You know, we meet with the inspector routinely, and he gives us, the numbers, the statistics on the number of summonses that have been issued, and it's astounding. But there are repeat offenders, and it becomes very challenging to watch every corner of the turnstile or every corner of the train. So.
A lot of questions about accessibility. We had two pre-submitted and then one just from the audience tonight. So I'll go through them. Are there from Laura L, are there plans to add ADA accessibility to Uptown Stations, Christopher 9th, 14th, 23rd? That's also was called out in a note card this evening, Christopher Street. And then Michael R also asks, from what I understand, all of the pass stations in New Jersey are accessible. Only 2 of the 6 in New York City are accessible. It would be wonderful if PATH can be a fully accessible mass transit system. So can you speak a little bit about accessibility and some of the stations in New York?
Sure. While it's true that all PATH stations in New Jersey are accessible, 4 of the 13 system-wide are not. It's 9th Street, 14th, 23rd, Christopher. That's not because we like New Jersey better. Those stations were
I
built
think there's a New Yorker.
in the early 1900s, and their tight, irregular layouts are within the city streets, and it makes it hugely difficult to get the geometry necessary to get elevators to those locations. So the current plan doesn't include it. This is something that we looked at in the past. We're going to continue to look for ways to better address accessibility. We're partnering with New York City and the MTA to continue studying what is possible in the future. In the meantime, we have introduced the 50% fare discount for riders with disabilities, but that is just a really tough built condition in a built environment, trying to add something like an elevator to certain stations. Yes, sir. Someone mentioned that to me earlier, and I'm going to personally look into that because it sounded intriguing. Thank you.
Coming up next, when will you fix the elevators at Journal Square and Grove Street? Why are the escalators always malfunctioning at Journal Square? What is your plan to address this?
I'll take that. So currently, happy to report that the elevators at both Journal Square and Grove are both in operation. And basically, they're really up about 97% of the time. We have reports that are run. John Burkhardt is here. He oversees that operation. And the escalators at Journal Square are old. They're very old. They're exposed to the elements, and they need a lot of care. We're doing our best to maintain them in good working order. They require a lot of care. What you may be seeing sometimes may be a frustrated passenger, especially on the platform going eastbound. When they're coming up the stairs, sometimes they'll just shut it off. And you think the escalator is really down when it's just a customer that gets frustrated and wants to use the escalator that's going in an opposite direction, and they'll just push the stop button so that they can utilize it. And then it takes a couple of minutes for our maintainer to come in and have that escalator go back up. But we are looking at our mechanical systems, and that, if you remember, that was one of the elements we are looking at in our new capital plan. I think by code, it's, yeah.
It's dictated by a ASME code.
Mhm.
You're very restricted. We've looked into that, and anytime you look to do it, it's got to be about safety. And you wish people would behave better. And we try to encourage that. These gentlemen over here and our PIAs try to, just keep an eye out for that. But no, you can't do that by code.
So the next question is from Chris V. Why are the Newark to World Trade Center increases to service only starting in March 2027? What's keeping you from making improvements in this service sooner? Why are the service changes not all happening now? You kind of went over it, but.
Yeah, so we touched on, and a lot of people know, some of them were, we had to wait until path forward work was done to be able to get the work completed and put that in place. The second part has to do with people. Again, safety is always going to be number one. We have to recruit the right people. We have to train the right people, and that takes time. So it's, I think, 8 months to fully train a new candidate. They have classroom training, they go out in the field, they get on-the-job training, and with that safety in mind, that date was way further out. And again, Raisha, when challenged, figured out a way to safely accelerate the training, but we had to get the approval to hire close to 100 people, and then put into effect a plan with our Human Resources Department and our PATH Training Department to really ramp that up as quickly as we could.
Coming up next about TAP from Nathan, Caden, Ayla. What is the timeline of the TAP system? Specifically, do you have a date for when SmartLink will be phased out? Will the TAP card still offer buying trips in bulk at a discount, or max out at the same value as 7 days, similar to MTA?
So we'll be phasing out the SmartLink system once we roll out the new TAP system and the new TAP vending machines and physical cards with the goal of sunsetting SmartLink in the latter part of 2026. So over the next couple of weeks, hopefully you will start seeing the TAP vending cards, vending machines, and the cards starting to roll out station by station. Again, looking at the migration, making sure all the vending machines are working, the cards are working. So by the time all of that happens and our customers migrate from SmartLink to TAP, we're estimating that to take about a year. So probably by the end of next year, we anticipate at that point in time, we will be sunsetting the SmartLink system. And the discounts that we have today on TAP, you will, on SmartLink, you will see on TAP at this point in time.
Another question on, oh, sorry.
Right now, we're continuing with our current discount program. We are doing a review of, it's pretty complex right now. There's a lot of different options. We're looking at the number of riders that use each of the types of discounts. We're going to be studying that over the next 6 months or so, and we're going to see what makes sense, and we'll probably make a recommendation to our board to simplify that. Yes? So when I say we're going to review discounts, we're going to put everything on the table. You know, a lot of this is numbers driven, you know, trying to get a simple, reasonable method. We are looking at the MTA style of fare capping, but it really has to be customized to the path rider, which is very different than the MTA subway rider.
Thanks, Jim. So one quick question, why are there no trash containers in PATH stations?
That's an easy one. We have them now. So yes, for many years, whoever put that question in, for many years we did not have them, and that was because we had a lot of upgrades to our station after Superstorm Sandy. We had 9/11, so there were a lot of security concerns. But we have since reviewed all of that. A lot of our station upgrade programs have been completed, so the station garbage cans have been put back at the stations.
Great. In the interest of getting to as many questions as possible, I'm going to sum and ask for brief answers. From Guillermo, can trains to Midtown be sped up if train cars are shortened?
No, how's that for short?
I'll jump to the next one. Justine R. Oh, Zach's here.
Okay, so a few questions on sort of mitigation when service goes down, but one question, is it possible for PA and New York, the Port Authority and New York Waterway to create an agreement for cross-honoring during service outages? Does this already exist with New Jersey Transit? And then we also had one or two from the crowd. So is it more cost-effective to do, make sure you're using shuttle buses when you're doing closures for mitigations or longer service reductions? Another person in the audience asked, because of the two-track system, are there any contingencies like buses to help mitigate service interruptions? So can you talk about what we do for mitigations and specifically address the New York Waterway question?
Yeah, so the Port Authority already has an agreement with New York Waterway that governs cross-honoring during unplanned outages. We have a similar thing with New Jersey Transit. With respect to the broader question about buses, what we certainly do is when there's a major capital program that's going on, we've now created different contract mechanisms to bring on busing, to provide alternate means. You saw a lot of that, thanks to Rebecca in the back there, hard work to put things, multiple mitigations in effect for Hoboken. When we do the work out west, we established a bus that goes from Harrison to Journal Square. So you don't have to go from Harrison to Newark on the train and then come back into Journal Square. So we are utilizing buses a lot more, especially for planned outages. We're always keeping an eye out for, where problems are created, either during normal operations or planned outages due to construction.
Thank you. So Gabe asks, how will PATH support visitors during the 2026 World Cup? Will there be increased service during those times?
Yeah, absolutely. PATH is playing a critical role in, in the planning for FIFA. We are talking with our regional partners, Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, and other facilities in order to talk about how we will be supporting New Jersey Transit and other rail properties as they transport the riders that will be going to the games. So we are absolutely at the table having conversation. And one of the targets that actually Jim gave us as we were looking at the increase, as Raisha was sitting down with her team, it was really a goal of making sure those increases, the direct service lines, happen before FIFA. So that's why you see that May 17th date. Wanted to make sure that they were in place, running already, so there'd be a smoother transition. So that way FIFA starts sometime in June, I believe by mid-June. So they'll already be in operation. So we've already positioning ourselves with increased service to be able to support the FIFA effort.
I think we said mid, and she just broke news by saying we're targeting mid-May, but that's okay. We like to put ourselves under pressure.
This next question is from KDR. I love this next question. I'm a PATH rider myself, so I endorse KDR's question. So excited about the service improvements. What we really need to launch in tandem with the service improvements are a series of PATH etiquette PSAs. No one takes their backpack off, steps in to allow other riders in, or waits for people to exit the train before boarding. This has become a worse issue post-COVID. Can we get enforcement and actions and strong PSA campaign to improve rides for all?
It's a great idea. We're always striving to have riders understand how they can do their part. I mean, you guys know it, if everybody just had good manners, it would be more pleasant for everyone. We do have posters, we do run courtesy campaigns, but it's certainly time for a refreshed and new look at that. Again, Rebecca in the back there is always looking to, really address those kinds of needs.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, well, I will say the team is currently today super focused on this. We can't be everywhere all at once, but we certainly look through cameras, through feedback from customers to deploy our limited resources to where we can. So we will continue that. I think we do that, but I'll take it back unless you want to comment on that at all.
So I would say this. Good evening. I would say this, year-to-date with the bike issue becoming a more frustrating issue for many, we've started tracking turnaways and people asked to leave trains. So I would say year-to-date from September 22nd, when I started tracking it, we've removed or rejected entry during the peak times, during rush hour, evening and day, over 1,500 bikes year-to-date. So we're taking it much more serious. And on top of that, we are year-to-date between all summonses issued at 2,300. Summonses issued for the fare evasion and any other issues that have come across our plate. So we are taking it much more seriously. And I'm hopeful that people will start observing that people are getting pulled over. I think I was speaking with Madison earlier today. She's seeing some of my, I'll tell a secret, my plainclothes officers are out there and they are actively trying to locate people who are committing these violations and hold them to accountability. Thank you.
I wouldn't mess with him.
Got a question. Is someone asking a question out here? Nope. Question that I absolutely adore. Port Authority recently awarded a contract for preliminary engineering work for reconstruction of the civil infrastructure in the Uptown Tubes following Hurricane Sandy. What is the timeline for this work, the expected duration, and what is PATH's plan for maintaining this level of increased off-peak service during the work? And for anyone interested, you can look at the capital plan under state of good repair, duct bank replacement, under river tunnels A and B, and under safety, security, and compliance. We have tunnel hardening and water mitigation in tunnels A, B, and civil infrastructure replacements in tunnel A and B.
Yeah, Jack is, he's listening. His ears are just perked up. So our uptown under river tunnels, we call them tunnels A and B. They bring you up to 33rd Street, Christopher on up. And they are the oldest part of our system. Actually, one of those tunnels, John Burkhart is very familiar with, they're each about a mile long. About a third of one of those tunnels is actually all brick. And our engineering department watches that brick section so closely because you want to make sure of the water infiltration that's coming. It's concrete, right? So it's brick. So you want just enough water to go through there in order for it, for the structural integrity to be maintained. So again, very critical infrastructure. Yes, indeed, we did just award a preliminary engineering contract. That work is all about planning. There is so much, and that work is so complicated for us to be able to touch. Remember, 2 tracks, right? So they're going to be very complicated for us to do. We really need to thoughtfully plan it out because, again, ultimately, it's really about the customer. How do we provide the best service to you? And as part of that, we will continue to have dialogue. We will continue to share plans with you as the engineering team that we just hired lays out logistics for us. What is it going to look like? How can we do this? What are the options, right? We will share that with you and have dialogue because the work has to be done. They were damaged during Sandy. And it must be repaired. So what's the best way to do that? We don't know yet. So a lot of those answers, Jack, and to the rest of you, we don't have the complete answers. And we would really prefer to have give you a complete story so that we can, dialogue and find a path forward, no pun intended. Okay.
Another question on escalators. Can escalator direction be reversed during service outages? Too often, passengers are struggling to exit stations simply because the escalator direction has not been reversed. Is it possible to provide station police with the ability to reverse escalators during a crisis or service outage?
So as a recovering mechanical engineer, I can tell you that with escalators, if you have a main direction, whenever you go to reverse that direction, they tend to fail. So that's the situation. We've got old, tight, I think I put some of those original ones in, that's how old they are. So it's very difficult to do that, and you run the risk of a failure that will then take down the reliability in the main direction that you're looking to run it in.
And just to add to that, we've even tried shutting off the escalator, right? Ourselves, so intentionally, but that's against code too. So again, in order to be in compliance, we have to run them. So we were hoping to be able to solve that problem. I see it in the mornings. I ride paths too. So I see it in the mornings and we're like, let's just shut so that people can use it as a down escalator. But unfortunately, we cannot do that intentionally because we will be out of compliance. So.
Thank you. So Aisha M asks, when will the Newport Station renovations be completed?
That's a question I ask Damian McShane every day. But so the station is scheduled to be fully complete in September 26th. This includes rehabilitation work up to the entrance plaza. We anticipate that most of the platform level work will be completed in March of 26, kind of around the time or before Path Forward. So those two projects have been closely coordinated. But every day, Damien is trying to move that date forward.
A question on future demand from Cassandra C. With increased numbers of tourists staying in Jersey City and large new apartment buildings attracting more residents to the area, how will PATH adjust its schedule to accommodate Jersey City's growing population, especially on weekends when platforms and trains become dangerously packed? There's another, along the same lines, but a bit more specific. Rizal T, David C, Yevgeny Y also asked questions related to the next one. What are the current plans for Marion or West Side stop after Journal Square? Population in that area is growing and would improve transit mobility for the western side of Jersey City. So can you just speak broadly to sort of, Pat's goals to address growing number of residents in the area, and then also specifically the Marion or West Side stop?
Okay, so I'll take the first one first, and that's really about looking at the increased numbers. So the best I can say is follow the data. Follow the data. Everybody laughs at me when I love CSI Miami. I don't know if anybody watches it with Horatio, and he says, follow the facts. So it's really about following the data, really about having graphs in front of us, numbers, so that we could make sure we are addressing and putting the trains in. Raisha, she gets monthly reports, making sure that we are putting the trains in where the most number of riders are. We invested $3 billion in our infrastructure, $1 billion of which was simply for the signal system that allows us to run trains closer together. And that allows greater capacity for the system to be able to handle the additional riders that are coming. As we look outside, I look outside my window and the buildings are going up, and it's an amazing sight, and it's a challenge. It's exciting. It's an amazing sight for us. But again, it's really about the data that we get from our technology, and making sure that our service matches where the peak ridership is at each point, whether it's in the AM or the PM or the weekends. And that really is our best tool, just really following the ridership data to be able to provide for any increase that we're seeing.
Got a couple questions about Harrison. First from Elijah O here in the audience. The Harrison Journal Square route is suffering from track delays after its project. How can PATH respond to and combat this? As well as a question about a project in your capital plan titled Harrison Yard Signal System Upgrade. Could you elaborate on that and the effects it'll have?
So the Harrison Signal Yard is about upgrading that control system, the signals within our yard to make the operation of our car maintenance facility and primary car storage more efficient. We don't anticipate any major impacts to revenue service because of that is basically a support system, but that's the scope of the Hudson Yard signal system.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, I have oh, wait, sir, I have a follow-up. There's another item on the capital plan that really intrigued me. It was a project related to the Journal Square Station roof. Can you elaborate upon that one?
Another one of my favorites. So the platform, when the pavers that you walk on out when you're on the concourse is actually a roof. So that's leaking. It's leaking badly. We need to fix it. So we're studying that right now. And we're looking to pull up those pavers, put in water proofing and protection, and then reinstall them.
A couple questions related to MTA, two around the payment structure. So James asks, have you or will you consider implementing MTA's Omni payment system on your turnstiles? Someone in the audience this evening says, is there a plan to work with MTA on joint procurement for trains or fare gates like Omni to drive down costs? That's related to sort of the Omni system and TAP system. But then there was another question in the audience, can we through run with MTA, which I think is more operational?
So with respect to Omni, with the MTA phasing out the MetroCard, which is accepted across PATH, we're focused on getting those tap machines out and getting those tap cards out, phasing out SmartLink so that you can now use your tap card to get that same kind of credit card tap functionality. We had to make a decision about whether to sign on as an Omni affiliate or pursue our own tap and go system. We wanted to make sure and be in control of that. It was very successful. We're happy that we did that. We created, when you do these, you have to have a back of house system that provides customer support and does all of the proper financial transactions. So the decision was made for PATH to create the TAP system with the TAP card to be able to support the phase out of the MetroCard. What was the other question in terms of through running?
Through running? That came from Zach's card. Are you able to? Oh. Could you repeat the question for the live stream? We've gotten a comment that they can't hear the audience questions.
What was the question? Sorry.
When are I going to be able to use?
So what the today you're able to do that on your SmartLink card, right? The card. So that functionality is going to come with the new TAP card, and that's what we have currently in place for that. Not the phone. The phone is something we'd have to go and get Cubic and program that in. I said we're looking into the discounts. We're also looking into what would that cost? How long would it take? These things, you would not believe how complex it is to program these systems to do what you and I would say is very simple. But we're going to take a look at it. But in the meantime, I think the PATH TAP card is going to be, very useful and functional as the discount program card. See that? You're smarter than me. When I asked the same question, that's the answer they got. But at the time that we contracted with Cubic to create the TAP system, that virtual card was not an option. So when I say we're going to go back and take a look at that to see how much it would cost, how long it would take, that's something that we're going to do to put that in.
We have a few questions on budget, two from the audience, one from the paper. I'll go with this one. As an accountant, I'm curious, how does PATH fund operations if fares only cover 25% of running costs and annual losses are 400 million? How does PATH bridge that gap? And a follow-up question to that, are there other methods of raising revenue that the PA is considering for PATH?
So currently, other forms of revenue other than fares, we do have retail that is in Journal Square and in other locations for PATH. We have the bus terminal. We also have a parking structure. So those are fees that come in to help support PATH. We also, remember, are we are subsidy of the Port Authority. So they subsidize PATH significantly, as we have, as our operating expenses. So those are basically the means to be able to support PATH. So in addition to the businesses that we run, there is the Port Authority that we heavily are subsidized by.
Just to get back to the first question from the audience, how does PATH fund operations if fares only cover 25% of running costs, annual losses are 400 million? How does PATH bridge that gap, right? So can you talk a little bit about what that really means for the system?
So this goes back to the founding of the Port Authority. We're self-funded. We don't get taxpayer money. We don't get federal funding for rail, as mentioned previously. So all of the Port Authority's operating revenue and capital capacity through our consolidated bond comes from our 5 lines of businesses. So the airports make money these days, the ports make money, the crossings make money, the terminal is very much a subsidized operation, just as PATH is. World Trade Center is a campus. I'm not sure if that makes money. I think it does. So it's where we make revenues exceed our expenses. There's no such thing as profit for us. We don't get bonuses or anything. We take that revenue from the revenue makers and invest that in the operations that require subsidy.
Another specific I'm getting all the escalator questions from Helen B. The escalator to the D platform in Journal Square Transportation Center hasn't worked for almost a year. What's the timeline on when it will be fixed?
So that was down for an extended period of time due to ongoing work on the bus lanes of Journal Square. We also have water infiltration problems from that upper level coming down the escalators. Waters and escalators do not mix. But we're working with with our maintenance manufacturer and maintainer to try to get those back up, and the repairs are expected to be completed in February of '26.
Follow-up question?
So just to repeat for the live stream, the escalators at World Trade Center have been inoperable for, are you Gary? Because we have one from Gary on this exact question, for days or weeks and months. What's the target date on that one?
So you're referring to 2 escalators, 1 and 5. So we looked into it because that question was submitted ahead of time. They're down to due to a mechanical incident with that type of escalator. So now we found a defect. We had to work with the manufacturer, work with our maintainers, develop a fix, and come up with a plan to put those into effect. Timing, what did they say here? So I think the work is ongoing, but right now we don't have a definitive answer on when we're going to be able to get the solution employed. But, these things, safety's got to be first. So it's unfortunate, but we're working as hard as we can to get those back up and running.
Coming from Scott H. and Caden S. When does the agency plan to introduce platform screen doors, those glass safety barriers installed along the platform edge that remain closed until a train arrives and then open in sync with the train's doors? And speaks about the safety it brings.
Yeah, unfortunately, at this time, the agency does not have any plans to install platform doors.
I appreciate your prompt response. I'll stick around. Let's see. On service from Vignesh, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, when can we have a PATH train from 33rd to Newark Penn Station?
So New Jersey Transit provides a direct one-seat ride from Newark Penn Station to Midtown Manhattan. So a path service between Newark and 33rd Street would be a duplicate of that service provided by our partners. Beyond that, PATH can't realistically run such a service with its current infrastructure. The Newark Penn lacks track space needed to store, turn trains while also supporting the existing Newark to World Trade Center line, and longer travel times of the 33rd to Newark route would make it difficult to position trains and crews in that tight system that you guys know pretty well by now.
Next question from David C. The PATH's single tunnel in and out seems to be a huge limitation on the system and what is causing big shutdowns for routine maintenance. Building another tunnel seems to be the only answer. How is the Port Authority planning long-term to address this limitation? There's also a question from Tony in the audience. Why are we at least talking about building more parallel tunnels under the Hudson to solve bottlenecks for work trains, disabled trains, et cetera?
Well, I'll take the first one. As we do have that limited infrastructure, the 2 tracks that take you uptown, takes you downtown and out west, very, very limiting, so that when we do have to do work on any one of those tracks, it causes us to have to single track. So that means when we talk, say, single track, that means the trains are going in 2 directions on 1 track. So again, you've got to time it. That young lady in the back has to time those headways very, very carefully so that, of course, so that we can run safely. And that happens all the time. So that is just the infrastructure that we have. We have what we call crossovers, where it provides some flexibility to be able to maneuver our way around single tracking, but ultimately we have 2 tracks that we run on. And the properties that we have are also very limited and very confined, because as you can see, buildings are going up around us into New York. There's existing infrastructure, very, very challenging. So we just have to continue to look for ways to do work more efficiently, more effectively, it's just continues to be a challenge. And in terms of a new tunnel, that's probably our next capital program. That's what I would say, Jim.
But we do study these things.
Yes.
But if that $3 billion or so path extension is a lot, if you start to think about a tunnel and all of the infrastructure, it is hugely expensive. But we do, we've got a planning unit that looks at what the forecast demand is. We look at how we can do the service level improvements that were announced and we're proposing right now to stay ahead of that. So it is something that the Port Authority, you know, we're long-term owners, operators. We've been around over 100 years. We'll be around for another 100 or more. And that is something we do in terms of long-term plannings for all of our systems.
We wrap it with a bow, right?
Can you just reintroduce the question a little bit?
So let me see if I got that right. Your request is that when we answer the questions and talk about the capital investment, do we consider environmental justice issues like emissions and look at the zoom out, look at the total cost of if you don't improve path, you have vehicles, and what all of that does? Absolutely. So we have a net zero plan that the Port Authority worked hard to work on, and that's reducing our own emissions and also where we can, stage 3 emissions for other airlines and other operators. So we do look at that. When we accelerated the all-electronic tolling as an example, that was part of that leveraging technology by not having to stop at the tolls or even slow down with the Easy Pass. We saw improved traffic flows, reduced emissions, and more importantly, reduced crashes by 57%. So that is something that each team takes very serious. There's a proposal out there to work on EJ issues around like the Holland Tunnel to make sidewalks. Now that we have that improved traffic flow, the teams are always looking for how to take advantage of those types of issues and address them while we're doing some of these bigger projects. I spent 10 years in redevelopment programs, and what gets lost in that is all of the other things that get swept in behind that world-class facility, the world-class bus terminal. We take care of state of good repair. We adopt our very rigorous sustainability and resilience standards. We talk about things about exactly EJ-related issues. We go out into the community, we try to take their feedback, and we try to incorporate what we can. There are limitations to what you can do in some of our operations, but that actually has been, I think, one of the keys to the success of what we've been able to accomplish, what we're looking to complete, and what we're looking to start in this new capital program. But appreciate the question. I don't know that I could answer that directly. I think I know where you're going. If you talk about, it's not just the cost purely to subsidize based on a ratio. You would have to look at the avoided cost or of a new bus or vehicular crossing and the consequences of that. So we do look at that generally. Where we can quantify and calculate that, we do. That's one of the benefits of being an agency where we run 5 line businesses. So ports and that intermodal transport of cargo, goods, passengers, autos. That is something that we often talk about, the relationship between truck traffic from the ports and how that moves into the crossings. It is something that we have a planning department that spends a fair amount of time just looking at those types of interactions.
And I just wanted to add a little bit, when you think about PATH, we run electric vehicles, and it's one of the most sustainable forms of transportation that the Port Authority offers. So the investment is sustainable over time, and it speaks to also the concern for the environment. So as we invest in PATH and increase its capacity, we're also looking to meet those sustainable goals. Yeah.
We're in the home stretch. James S. asks about platform monitors and comforts. The northern end of Grove Street platform has 4 older monitors. However, this past year, they stopped showing train arrival times, and the newer clocks are not visible due to the staircase. Will an arrival clock be added? Why don't the TVs show arrival time? Also, the southern end of Grove Street, which was expanded, does not have any benches. Can some be added? And I would reinterpret this to say, who should riders reach out to speak about things like countdown clocks, benches, trash cans? what's their contact point?
You see that young lady right there? Rebecca Reel. She is our Assistant Director for Customer Experience. She does an amazing job. During the Hoboken shutdown, my memory of Rebecca was traveling on those buses herself to make sure that they were maintaining the schedules that they said that they were going to maintain. The customers were comfortable. She was out in the cold. So she is amazing at what she does. So this is her area. So any questions with that can go to that young lady over there.
But we also have our app, all of the social media, we monitor social media, all of those things are poured through, we get reports on them. We listen to what's happening, and then Rebecca and her team try to come up with ways to address them. And they respond to the different feedback that comes in through our social media and through our website.
Just a time check, it's almost 7:40. We're probably going to go until around a little bit after 7:45 with questions, and then we want to wrap so that folks can get to, see the maps in the back of the room and speak to PATH staff and introduce themselves. So if we can just keep the questions to the pre-submitted, and I apologize, a lot of submitted questions online, lots of questions written on note cards. We probably won't be able to get to all of them, but again, please feel free to introduce yourself to any Port Authority staff and exchange contact information if we haven't gotten to it.
Zach, can I just take
Yeah.
a moment to correct an answer I gave to that young man over there? I thought as I was giving it, I might have been messing that up, and Rebecca pointed out I was. So the senior discounts and ADA discounts are available on the TAP, because it's not a discount, it's a reduced fare, which I had to learn all about, and there's a distinction. So the senior discount and the ADA will be available on the mobile tap, the phone and credit cards.
So this is a question from the audience. What measures are being taken to ensure safety on trains and platforms? The fire incident and Newark to World Trade Center overcrowding at World Trade Center come to mind. How will the system keep up?
So this is a big problem that we're taking very seriously. We've had, and one fire is too many, but we've had a series of fire. We're trying to, attack this from all angles. The staff does a great job. They respond heroically to look and investigate fires, but we're also looking to employ technology. We're trying these infrared cameras that look at the track as the trains ride by and look for hot spots and try to address those before they turn into a smoking condition or fire condition. So we have a whole program. We have an independent safety unit in the Port Authority, and we bring them in to give an outsider's look, because we want to, really make sure we're getting the best thinking from all of our subject matter experts in the agency.
Another question from the audience. When does the scaffolding around Exchange Place go away? If this is from someone here, I think if it's in reference to scaffolding outside of the station, it wouldn't be PATH. It probably would be the city of Jersey City's. Another question, has there been a contemplation of shuttle buses from Newark Penn to the airport like LaGuardia? There are obviously New Jersey Transit bus service from Newark Penn to the airport. There's train service on New Jersey Transit and Amtrak from Newark Penn to the AirTrain station. And again, as Jim mentioned, we're opening a new access point to that train station in the South Ward of Newark so that residents in Newark and Elizabeth can access that transit and go elsewhere. This is from the audience tonight. You discussed the trade-off between short-term shutdowns and longer-term weekend or overnight reductions. What was PATH's impression or takeaways from the Hoboken closure with respect to productivity and rider feedback?
I think more important was what was your reaction? And I've heard that you guys are tough. If we tell you that it's coming and it makes sense from a efficiency perspective, and we provide the services that Rebecca and her team put forward for alternative transportation, it worked. And so as we study major projects like that, we're going to take that under consideration. You know, we're always going to do, you know, what's it look like on weekends? What's it look like with a longer shutdown? I was trying to push them to shut down Newport. They convinced me that it wasn't appropriate in that time. So we do an analysis every time, and we get input from our customer experience people, our engineering people, our operations people to try to come up with the right solution for the right project.
That's great. So this is a question from Chris in the audience. We talked a little bit about Harrison, but can you explain why sometimes the ride between Harrison and Journal Square varies greatly, sometimes 10, 11, or 15 minutes on the Newark to World Trade Center line? So what might cause that on any day, given day, the difference of a couple minutes?
A lot of times we have track work out west. And while they are doing track work, sometimes there are pieces of the track that are displaced, makes the train run time longer than usual, especially on weekends. So again, our main concern is always about running safe service. So you will see the train slow down as it goes areas where repairs are taking place. So that's the reason, because of the maintenance taking place.
Two.
The question was, would that improve once the Path Forward and other projects complete? The answer is yes. Now, there's always new work. So Amtrak is coming in to do major work on one of our bridges. You know, so there are things that we're going to be investing in, but that's going to create the reliability, and we're going to work with our partners to make sure that we provide those same, you know, workarounds, alternate transportation, and bring that best thinking to all of our projects going forward. I still haven't learned my Path Bridges.
It's the
Dock or Sawtooth? Yeah.
the Sawtooth Bridge that New Jersey.
So we have two more questions, if we'll just get to everybody's questions, and then if you need to. Great. So two questions on the 40-minute service starting earlier in the nights, both of them from folks in the audience. If you propose to start 40-minute around the world service uptown at 10 p.m., have you considered improving Newark to World Trade Center service during the evening? There are more crossovers that can allow 15 to 20-minute headways to downtown. Another question, how will 10 p.m. 40-minute service affect people getting home from events in the city or Newark? So can you talk a little bit about that trade-off and the decision to increase the headways in the evenings in order to get some of the other service enhancements accomplished?
Well, the first suggestion, I don't know if we did, but if we didn't, we will. We'll look at that as you know, a complement to mitigate some of those impacts. With respect to events, I mean, we do monitor for events. We always have the ability to make a change. We do that a lot with the arena out in Harrison to make sure that we don't do work, or we try to make sure that certainly, again, safety, we don't want overcrowding. So we monitor that data and stay in close contact with our partners who are running these events to try to stay ahead of it.
So Jim, that was the next question, is how does PATH sort of work with sports teams and arenas around service levels on game days, things like Red Bulls, Devils, concerts, and other events? So you seem to cover it. So we're at quarter of, we're after quarter of. We, again, if we weren't able to get to your question, plenty of folks from PATH and the Port Authority, if the Port Authority folks could just raise their hand. You know, lots of folks here from PATH and the agency. Before I wrap up and let Jack just say a final word, Jim and Clarell, do you have anything, sort of just very brief closing remarks to the group?
So I want to thank you again. I want to repeat something I said to the PATH they had their offsite. I think 2026, the pain, the work, the planning, the strategy that they put in place in 2025 and 2024, 26 with these service improvements, with the increased reliability, I think it's going to be a really big year for the PATH everybody in this room. So I really want to thank you for your input and look forward to working with you going forward.
So I just echo what Jim said, and again, also thank you for being here. Thank you for caring enough to take time out of your schedule to come and talk to us. So we really appreciate that. Our team is here. We get excited. It's not just about running trains. It's really about making a difference in your life every day, and we get to do that. So not every day's perfect. There are days that are not so good. But there are days that are great. And we just really want to thank you for being faithful customers. So thanks.
From Hudson County Complete Streets, I just want to thank everyone at the PA for taking the time to come out and do this, the conversations we've been in, and our campaign. And would everyone on our campaign, A Better Path, raise their hands for a moment? So you could. We've really appreciated the productive conversations, and as I've said with our side, your side, that we really see the Port Authority as a great organization that takes care of its people. You got 8,000 plus people in this region that have good jobs creating valuable things, and we know it's not perfect, but every day we get up and we work towards a more perfect system. And we look forward to having these conversations as the years pass. So I'll give it back to Zach.
Thanks, Jack. And again, on behalf of the agency, we want to thank Hudson County Community College for hosting us here this evening in this room. I want to thank Hudson County Complete Streets for their partnership in putting this event together. And, you know, I just want to make two final points. The first of which is, you know, getting to work at the agency and getting to work alongside a lot of very dedicated people. Many of them are in the room. You know, it wasn't lost on me that when Clarell went over the service enhancements on the slide deck, there was applause for PATH from the folks in the room. So again, I have to underscore these things that we announced last week and went over tonight, they were not a given. The agency had to work hard and find resources and find solutions to provide these options to PATH riders, because we know how important it is to you all. And so just to the credit to the folks in this room, Jim and Clarell and the board and the chairman and the executive director who pushed the agency to get these done, and to the people at PATH who got it done, I just want to call them out because it really is very impressive and we're very proud of it. And to that, you know, this is a proposal. And, you know, on your way out of the room, we have how you can submit public comment. If we heard from you that PATH service needed to be improved, then I think it's fair that we hear from you to make sure that this proposal becomes a reality, because it is a proposal and it is up for consideration. And there are public hearings and ways to submit public comment. So if you all are so inclined and engaged to sort of speak about how important these enhancements are to you and your communities, we welcome that. And there's lots of ways to do that. So just wanted to point that out. Again, thank you all very much for your time. Thank you for coming out in the middle of the week to talk about this. Make sure to introduce yourself to PATH staff, and to all of you watching on the live stream. We appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and hopefully folks were able to learn a little bit and have some questions answered. And again, an ongoing dialogue, as Jim and Clarell said, and hope to continue to do more. Thank you.